Hey there. Well, today is an exciting day at the whatever we're going to call this show. I don't know. And you may notice I have a different face in the chair today. It is so exciting. It's monumental this day because you are the very first guest ever in the new studio in the undisclosed location in Marion County. So we have with us today Jimmy Cowan because although Sheila and I and Bobby have been doing political stuff, and yesterday we did a whole show on negative hit pieces that candidates do, and nobody's getting more negative hit pieces out than you are, Jimmy Cowan.
Trim notices are out.
You are breaking some records. It's that time of the year, huh? Is this, I know you've been with the property appraiser how many years?
29 years.
29 years in May. Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is your 29th year of trim notices. I guess do a lot of employees call in sick during this period of time? Do they hate it? I know they're all committed
it's all hands
people.
On deck. It's all hands on deck. So.
But they must love this time of the year. Well, part of the reason why I asked Jimmy to come in today is because I started noticing on Facebook that there was a ton of people complaining because they felt like their property taxes had gone up. I know mine had gone up $600. And I know some people are saying they doubled, and there's been a lot of questions. So I know you've been on the hot seat. And one thing I have to say is this guy, even though he's my buddy, he'll respond to your call personally, won't you?
I will.
And you have. I know you talked to Bobby Gibson. You talked to Tanner or Parrish Tanner.
I haven't talked to Bobby Gibson, but my director has talked to him. I did talk to Parrish Tanner. He's a good guy. None of us like property taxes, and just so we have an understanding, the property appraiser's main job is to do values and assessments and do your exemptions. We do not collect taxes. We do not know what the tax rate's going to be before we do our assessments. So basically, we have basically no say in what the taxes will be. There's most of you will open your trim notice and you'll get a flyer.
Wait, I'm opening mine for live effect because I want to see how much the oh wow, my property next door, the rental, which I did all those improvements on, it did go up substantially. I'm a little shell shocked here.
Did it have homestead on it last year?
Well, I can't homestead it, right? Because it's a rental
it
property.
Have homestead last year.
No, because it wasn't a home. Remember, I turned it from a utility building. Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Wow. Yeah. So
from a storage rate to a living area.
I'm a little verklempt. I'm a little verklempt on that one. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I felt like you needed to see how people react when they open their bills live and on camera.
That was live.
How about that? That was good. So, okay, finish what you're. Tell us, because I tell us who to blame. We'd like to blame you, the county commission. I tried to blame the county commission, and Kathy Bryant went on and corrected me as she likes to do, and that's okay. I ignored her as I like to do, and it's a fun game we play. But
first of all, when you open your trim notice, there is a pamphlet or a handout that goes in here that explains a lot of the trim notice. It's basically
that most people probably throw away and don't read.
They probably do. And then in the
did.
middle, it tells you basically what to look at and where to look for stuff on it. In the front, there's a little letter from us, basically. On the trim notice up here on the right-hand corner, so there's three key factors that impact property taxes, and one is the property values, which we have to figure, tax exemptions, which we oversee, and the millage rates.
Okay, wait. Now let's break this down. So property values are up right now because real estate is up and all of that. So
that is
now that just kind of happened in the last 3 to 6 months from a realtor's perspective. So how does that factor in right away?
Well, basically, everything that we do in the property appraiser's office and anything that you get a bill on is going to be based on a January 1st appraisal date. Across Florida, every county is the same. January 1st is your date. So that is your appraisal date that we do every year. For instance, 2021's tax bill or proposed notice that you will receive this year is based on 2020's data. There's three approaches to value.
Property values were down in 2020.
No, they were up.
They were up?
They were way up.
They were way up?
Yeah.
They weren't as way up as this year.
And so that being said, and I'll get to that in just a second, all your 2020 sales from January 1 of 2020 to December of 2020, basically last day of December, we have to look at that and come up with a median value to apply to different market areas within the county and different types of properties. There's three approaches to value. One is cost. That's mostly used when something's built brand new. after you get it several years down the road, cost is not as effective to use. Your sales comparison approach is your most widely used, and that's what we're looking at. Is there's a lot of sales in Marion County.
So you base the sales comparison on brand new construction or new construction, all sales?
All properties.
Okay, just like an appraiser
Yes.
in real estate would
Yes,
do.
and they're
Okay.
going to usually
Neighborhood comparisons, is that what you're saying?
well, it may be in a neighborhood. A fee appraiser may go outside of that neighborhood if, in fact, there's no comparables within that subdivision or that area that's sold either within a time period or that are comparable at
So
all.
just like a residential house appraisal, when you buy a new property, they're going to use the
Now,
comparables
the
as
difference
close as
in
they
a
can.
fee appraisal, which you're talking about, or a bank appraisal, basically, if the properties are selling Camelot, everything's selling for $100,000, that appraisal is going to come out at $100,000. For a mass appraisal standpoint, if everything was selling for $100,000, we're going to be somewhere around $85,000. We're going to take out the cost of sale and the realtor's fees, closing costs, things of that nature out of it. So we're about 15% less.
Gotcha.
Now, that can change depending on where somebody buys in the market because nothing sells exactly the same. So if everything sold for $100,000 or $200,000 at the same price, it would be easy.
So basically, and I'm just trying to keep up with it, so next year's bill is going to be even higher because values are even higher right now, and everybody knows everybody's selling at inflated prices right now, and we feel certain from a real estate perspective that bubble's going to burst again like it did in 2006, 2007. But right now, the whole year of 2021 is way up.
It is, and we don't know what's going to happen from September to December. I mean, if it fell off, then that can make a difference in what the median values end up being. If they continue to stay where they're at or go up, it could raise that median. So it's hard to tell at this point in time, but I do believe that they're going to go up again next year.
So then I should blame this on the Democrats. If I got I'm going to blame it on Joe Biden.
Well,
I have to blame it on somebody.
you know, there's a lot of finger pointing that it's the county commissioners, it's the property appraiser, it's the tax collector, it's the budgets that they're overspending, things of that nature, and it's just not. That's not the case. What ends up happening is if sales, and you're a real estate agent, so you understand that what you could list something for even 2 years ago, you can list a lot higher right now. Once them properties sell and become a transaction that goes through the clerk of the court's office, then we pull that data and we start looking at it. We call to find out, is it a regular sale, basically a qualified sale on the market, usually something like a foreclosure or a sale from family member to family member by the Department of Revenue standards in most cases is unqualified. If you're my sister and I'm planning on selling you something, if I like you, I'm going to give you a better deal than I would somebody off the street that I don't know. So basically that was something that came up on kind of in a sense on the Facebook post that if you sell something to your brother or sister for a certain amount of money, well, that's an unqualified sale. And even if you're talking about personal property.
Unqualified meaning y'all don't lump it into your comparisons.
No, it's below market transaction, just like a short sale or foreclosure
that's what I
can
said.
be.
Okay, so foreclosures and short sales you don't use like
We
a
look
regular
at
residential appraiser does?
We look at them. If we look in a subdivision, let's say there's 100 sales and there's 3 foreclosures, but there's 97 good sales, we're going to use them 97 good sales. And generally you'll see the 3 are lower and they're below market. Now, foreclosures can sell at market. There's been times like the downfall of the market that you spoke of earlier. Myself and a guy who was a review appraiser at the time when I was a director went out to an area of the county, which was in the shores. Everything that sold out there was a foreclosure. Mm-hmm. So that has to be your market out there. Mm-hmm. It's a foreclosure market out there. I mean, there's no way around it. So when we looked at what happened in the shores, that section of the shores was selling lower than the other sections. So we basically had to lower that area.
So now, I mean, there's not a lot of foreclosures out there, but when they come about, they're going to highest and best, and they're getting way higher prices.
Well, the difference between the market crash years ago and now, it's harder to get a loan.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to get a loan these days, so we hope that that's not going to be the case. There'll be some. Mm-hmm. There'll be some for COVID reasons, whatever the case may be, where people can't make the payments or they bought at the top of their game.
Well, they're going to be upside down again.
And
we're going to,
down.
3-4 years from now, are we going to see a big foreclosure market again like we did? Because people are paying, $30, $60, $100,000 overpriced for
and beyond
some properties. And there's waiting lists to do that.
Beyond popular belief, we don't have a crystal ball at the property appraiser's office that we can tell you that.
We don't at the real estate office either, and I wish we did. And, inventory is very low, and,
It's supply and demand.
it's crazy times for y'all as well as in the real estate market, buyers, sellers, everybody included. It's all over the place. I mean, we have some listings we'll get 20, 30 offers on the same listing, whereas that same listing a year and a half, 2 years ago sat on the market for 90 days before they got a buyer.
Yeah.
Now you put a listing out there in 24 hours, you better pack your lunch because your phone's about to be ringing and ringing.
I agree. Yeah, I've seen it happen. I mean, there was one property in Marion I heard had over 200 offers on it.
Yeah, and I don't understand from a real estate perspective why realtors do that, but that's not on me. One of the things, and Sheila brought up the other day when we were chit-chatting, and I don't know if you saw our last show, but she brought up living in the city. I live in the county, you live in the county, but she brought up there was a fire assessment fee, and I know you just told me, you gave me Sheila's to look at. So the city has the Ocala fire assessment fee, and we weren't sure if this was because of the lawsuit or just to cover fire and law enforcement or whatever.
Well, for fire, it's got to be funded. Years ago, you get two parts of a tax bill or even on the trim notice. In the county, you have what they call an ad valorem, which is a Latin term meaning according to value. You also have a non-ad valorem assessment, which is sometimes your road assessments, fire, waste, clean water runoff. A lot of different things can be on there. Depending on the subdivision, it may differ. The city at one point was paying it through their utility bills. So if you were a renter, you were paying that fire charge.
Now I have Ocala Electric here, so in the county I was
But you're
paying
in the
it.
county, but you weren't paying it
So
the same way the city residents were paying
Okay.
it. You're paying the electric fee or the utility part of it. You're not paying the other fire and stuff of that nature.
Because I pay the fire assessment on my county bill.
So
correct.
what I'm getting at in the county, if I was renting a property from Sue Mosley got the tax bill and paid that fire charge within that tax bill. Now, you may have raised my rent or lowered my rent or whatever based on whatever, nobody really lowers it probably, but raised it based on what your tax bill might be, and that's totally up to you as the homeowner. So you paid it through your tax bill. And that's historically the way it's been for many, many years, as long as I've been there, since '92. The county has had it on the non-ad valorem side of their tax bill. The city now, this year, is the first year they've done it. Because I guess of the lawsuit, and I don't want to get into the lawsuit because I haven't read all the ins and outs, and I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
But they are actually putting it on their non-ad valorem side, just like the county does now. So it gets collected from the homeowner, not the renter.
So it'll no longer be on the utility bill.
Correct.
For city residents.
Correct.
Okay, so that's
So
probably,
they were paying it.
That's a good thing.
They were paying it a different way.
Okay, very good. All right, so tell us what else you got that.
Well, I mean, I would urge everybody to kind of read this pamphlet. I mean, most people throw them away.
I'm not reading.
There's
it.
numbers
That's
in
why
the
you're
back.
Here.
There's numbers in
Give
the
us
back.
the cliff notes.
Or you could be like Sue and you could just call my office
and say.
And we'll answer it. Now, one thing that I want to kind of go over, because Sue and I kind of talked about this, and I've seen some steam on this on Facebook too. Number one, the county commissioners, and we'll use my budget for my office. The Department of Revenue is the one that approves my budget. As a courtesy, we bring it to the county commissioners, but the Department of Revenue does it.
Are you the only one, or is the clerk of the court and the tax collector?
They're done by the county commissioners.
Okay, and
but
the sheriff.
The tax collector, I think, has changed it a different way. That'd be a George question, where they're doing it, but he has the same option, I do believe, as me, Department of Revenue. So kind of think if we were the ones that were actually setting values and they were the ones that were actually saying, here's your budget. I mean, it's kind of a conflict. So basically, the Department of Revenue does it. Okay. We have to basically turn our tax roll into the Department of Revenue to get it approved. It has been approved this year. Our budget has also been approved this year. We have to be at a certain percentage of value for certain types of properties, on all properties, but basically.
Now, why does the Department of Revenue govern that?
Because our laws and stuff that are passed, basically they kind of oversee it, and they look in depth at our tax roll every year. Now, every other year or so, we have an in-depth audit that they come in and take a look at it and make sure procedurally we're doing everything correct. Ours will be, I believe next year, if I'm not correct, I'm not mistaken.
Oh, does that, now I had bill number 3 here somewhere, which we were going to address. Tangible tax.
Tangible personal
Now,
property.
tangible, let's talk about that because this is my concrete business, which really I haven't had for 4 or 5 years, and it's all zeroed out. So don't send this to me anymore. Why are you wasting 109 cents? I don't know how much is stamps these days.
Well,
but yeah, so tangible tax bills
that would be
also
the
came
reason for that. For tangible personal property, the legislature several years ago, and this is something that came up during the campaign. One person that ran against me said, let's get rid of tangible personal property. And actually in your little pamphlet right here, I can tell you 2020's. Tangible personal property for 2020's tax roll last year was $31 million worth of taxes
in Marion County.
in Marion County.
And that's on equipment, correct?
It's on, yes, on equipment, on business stuff. Now, in your house, your couches, your love seats, your TVs, we don't assess that. In a business, your furniture, fixtures, computers, phones, stuff of that nature, it is assessed. It's not my favorite tax, I'll be honest with you. But the legislature, and me as a property appraiser, and somebody running for office can't go up there and say, I'm going to get rid of tangible personal property because they don't have the ability to do that. It has to be voted on. Okay? So one of the things that I used to give an example, the big boys in Marion County that put a lot of value on this tangible roll would be your AT&Ts, your T-Mobiles, your
Why is that?
Verizon, because they got towers and they've got all equipment everywhere, and it's millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff.
So the tower isn't, I know they're on properties, but they usually lease from properties like schools and billboard companies and stuff.
Because they don't own the real estate
It's real
underneath
estate.
it goes
Okay.
on the tangible bill.
Gotcha.
So if you think them big boys like Verizon, and we'll use Sprint, T-Mobile, who merged, and AT&T, most of them people don't live in Marion County. Some of them don't even live in Florida. Some are
Right.
not even in this country.
Right.
So they've got stuff all around our county that's worth millions and millions of dollars. So I'm not up to let them off scot-free because the legislature's already did a $25,000 exemption. As you see right now on this property that you have for tangible, it's under the $25,000. That's why you're getting a zero tax bill. Anytime that would go above $25,000, you would have to refile basically and tell us that, hey, I've added equipment and this is where it's at, and then your tax bill may raise. As long as you're under $25,000, you only have to file that one time.
So there might be people like me who are getting this. This company has, I have dissolved this company and I sold all my equipment.
So then you would contact our office, let them know that you dissolved this company, and they will inactivate.
I'd like you to inactivate that. I'm contacting the office.
I can do that.
Killing two birds.
I can do that. And when we get off air, I'll ask you a few questions so my tangible director doesn't beat me, because she'll need some information for to basically.
I'm kidding, and I can call in. I'm playing with you.
I'm going back to the office. I can do that. On camera, you handed it to me, so you know it's going to get taken care of.
I know. And you can call him anytime, and he takes care of it right away.
But to go back to this tangible personal property, $31 million. It's a lot of money. So if you take something off the tax
In revenue,
yes,
$31 million in revenue to Marion County for
paid
tangible.
to Mr. Albright.
That's mainly coming from corporate entities and bigger businesses.
Yes.
That's great.
So $31 million. If we were to take that off the tax roll, I want you to think about the impact on that. There's 270 as of last year, 270,781 real estate parcels. Okay. So that money's going to have to come from somewhere. If you had to go and put that $31 million on the 270,000 parcels or homeowners or whatever, everybody's going to have to divvy up a little bit more to get to that $31 million. So I'm not a proponent of letting them big companies off scot-free.
I agree.
So that average Sue or average Jimmy or average Joe has to pay more in their taxes because we're letting some big business get off scot-free.
Right. I agree with that. So yeah. So basically, what you're saying, it made a campaign issue to do away with tangible tax. Is that
one of the campaign or
So
one of the candidates brought that up?
And breaking it down like that is, I mean, I wouldn't have known that. I would have never thought about that. And ideally, as a conservative, when somebody says, "Oh, do away with a tax," I'm all for it. But how you just explained it, when you do away with that tax, you're doing away with $31 million of revenue into the county budget. Correct?
Correct. And it's got to come from somewhere.
So that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
So.
And you also see when the sheet that I gave you, there's railroads. When railroads come through, which is our roll 3, whatever's in Marion County on January 1, the Department of Revenue actually supplies us with that information, and that's $406,000 worth of tax revenue last year in Marion County.
$406,000 just based on the railroads?
Yep.
Wow.
On the cars that are in
Wow.
Marion County.
Now, is that based on the tracts that cover the city property, or how's that?
Well, it has to be split to wherever they are.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's got to
That's
be
got to
divvied
be
out.
a,
It's a pain. Now, another thing that I kind of want to say, because another thing that's gained traction, and I'm going to tell you, go on our website, pull up proposed millages, pull up what the millages were last year, look at your own trim notice, look at what it was in the first column. For instance, right here on mine, which is out 8002 millage group, the tax rate last year was 7.5549. So that basically equates to $755, almost $56 per thousand. This year it's 7.4265. So it's ticked down a little bit. County commissioners did that. Okay.
Let me say what mine was. So mine was 16.4967, and it went down to 16.3817.
That's correct. So it went down, and yours is in a different taxing district than mine. We got another one right here, which is Earl Honey's and Sheila Arnett's. They are in the city limits. It was 18.2844 last year. It's 18.1694.
So how do you base, because hers is much higher, so how do you base, and mine is higher than Marion Oaks, so how do you determine the millage unit? What did you just call it, millage
Some
unit?
of our stuff is actually taken care of in a different way. They pay it through utilities and stuff of that nature, some other stuff. But so theirs are generally a little bit higher because it's collected different. We all pay the same for
But
the same
so
services.
basically, because my area is higher, I'm southeast Ocala in the Huntington area. You're in Marion Oaks, which was like half. What'd you say it was? Yours was 7-ish?
Mine was 17.55.
Oh, 17. So yours
is 16.49.
Oh, so yours
Mine's
is
a little
higher.
A little higher, yes.
Okay.
And even my non-avalorms are a little bit higher because we have on our non-avalorms out there, you've got $50 a year for road improvement and $30 a year for general service
In Marion Oaks.
in Marion Oaks.
Okay. Why wouldn't we have road improvement everywhere?
That's a question for your engineering and MSTU.
Me.
That comes from them. We put it on the trim notice so that you guys, as taxpayers, know what to expect when it comes in there, but we are not the people that oversee that.
I understand. And so basically, the county does.
Yeah,
County
so if you
engineering.
have questions on MSTU,
County-
that would actually be on
Why
this.
don't tell the people what MSTU stands for?
It's a municipal taxing district, basically like your fire and your waste going through there, your road improvements. There's also some stuff called PACE programs that you can read in this pamphlet. PACE program, for those people that don't understand that, is somebody that can't afford to do conventional financing for, say, a roof or for a air conditioner or something improvement to the house, and they add it to their tax bill. I don't like PACE programs, in my own opinion. It's just my opinion. I don't like it because that's people that usually open it are shocked, and sometimes the PACE program payment per year is more than their Avalorm part of the taxes. And so I don't care for it. Unfortunately, some people are in that situation, so they have to do it.
And that's only in special areas that have that? Or
Anybody in the county can do it. It's just they have, if you know, it's a very high interest rate thing, and I don't. It comes from the government, so I don't even like
Gotcha.
it. So.
I don't even want to. Okay, so let's talk about, because I think this is where some people on Facebook were getting confused when you do improvements or remodel or expand your home. Like, I know when I built a TV studio in my home, I called you right away and said that, I added a bathroom and several things, and you told me what my bill was going to go up, and so we knew that. And same thing at the rental. So explain to people, how does that work? Like, let's say if I didn't call, I know you sent a guy out here that you saw the card. So your people go around and can reassess properties on an annual basis?
Well, we review any property or physically every 5 years by state statute.
What about when somebody pulls a permit?
Anytime there's a permit pulled, we have to go out and do it. And we do it when it's done. When it's substantially complete, we go out and we get it when it's done. And again, your appraisal date's that January 1. So if that property, and we'll use a 2020 date, if that property's addition is done before the first of the year, it goes on for 2021. So if it was December of 2020, it goes on 21's tax roll. If that addition follows and goes over to, say, February of 2021, it goes on 2022's tax bill. But just like we talked about with selling from family member to family member, and I'll give you an example. After the 2004 storms, I did my own roof because I knew how to do it. I pulled the permits. I stood for all the inspections.
Does a new roof increase the value of your home?
It does not.
Okay.
Not for mass appraisal. Now, it may, and I'll explain to you how it can help you in other ways, because everybody else, another thing on Facebook you're seeing is people's insurance doubling. And a lot of that has to do with roofs, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I was able to buy the tools my tools, the compressors, the nail guns, all of the stuff I needed for about $3,500. It would have cost me $10,000 to $12,000 to have a roofing company come out and actually do the labor and do my roof. So I saved myself a ton of money. I couldn't afford to do it at that time, so I had to do it that way. The roofing to me is not a fun thing,
No, I
especially
just
if
2
you don't
years
do it
ago
all the
had to
time.
pay $18,000 to do a
So
roof.
it's expensive.
yeah.
So that going rate for that roof would have been $10,000 or $12,000 at the time. Because I did it, if it was something that would have raised my value, it wouldn't have raised it by $3,500, which my tools were involved in that too. If that was something that would have changed value, it'd have raised it by $10,000 or $12,000. So if you add and you do the work yourself, you're saving on labor, you're saving on everything. If you do it yourself,
So you base it on the cost of the renovation? Is that what you're saying?
the cost plus labor and anything else, what the going rate would be if you got a contractor to go in there and do it, because otherwise you're looking at a below market transaction or addition that you put on there because you did it yourself. You may not be able to add, say, a room addition or a screen porch or a carport, so you're going to have to hire somebody. Okay, and because I can do it, I shouldn't pay less than what you did
Right.
because you had to hire somebody. The cost or the contributory value of that item is the same for you as it is for me, regardless if I did it or you did it, and both of them were done by code.
Gotcha. Now, and you may not, is it wrong to say that if you're considering doing a renovation on your home or an addition on your home, that they could call your office and say, I'm considering this, is it going to change my tax bill?
I would love for people to do that because that would help. Now, there's times where
Because
somebody...
that's what I did, basically. I was like, before I do this, what's it going to do to me?
There's a lot of real estate agents, as you know, and mortgage companies or closing companies that have my number personally that I've been friends with for years that call me and say, hey, look, my client is putting in a 3,500 square foot home. How much are the taxes going to be? I couldn't tell you. Now, if you tell me it's going to cost them $500,000 to build the home and we know what the lot value is, we can kind of give you a high estimate maybe, but we're not going to be able to tell you exactly. Now, if it's an existing thing or you're saying I'm going to add a pool's pretty easy to do. I can put it in miscellaneous improvements and figure out what it's going to be by the size you're going to do, how much pool deck you're going to have, whether you're going to have a pool enclosure or not. It's pretty easy to figure out based on what the rates are right now. Now, it may change a little bit because the rates may change next year. If you added a pool enclosure and it cost you $5,000 and next year it costs you $7,000 for the same thing, we won't know that till we start working that tax roll.
Now, here's a question that this happened to me, and maybe it's happened to others. When we built this home, we had a 1,500 square foot 4-car garage out back, standalone building. And I remember one time being reassessed or assessed because there was a concern whether or not it was drywalled in, which it is not, finished or unfinished. So how does that affect things?
Well, the finish of they consider it, like for instance in your case, it'd be an FDG, finished detached garage, or UDG, unfinished detached garage.
Yeah.
So if you just have your rafters up there and maybe stud walls, there's not as much cost put into it compared to if somebody came in and wrapped it with drywall, put a finished ceiling in it, as you would in a home.
Just like we would set a value in real estate,
Right.
Unfinished. Okay.
Right. So that's what that would be. And there's so much difference per square foot depending on whether it's finished or unfinished.
Or air conditioned or unair conditioned. Is that?
Well, when we look at an air conditioning area, we're not looking whether they have a Carrier or a Rheem or a Goodman. We're looking that it's a binary thing, either yes or no. They have it. If they have it, it's so much per square foot. If they don't, it's zero.
Gotcha.
So it's basically we don't care the type, just like a roof. We don't care if it's metal or it's shingle. We're gonna list it, but it does not change the value.
And again, back to the roof. So the age of the roof, new or old, an older roof, it's lower on your taxes. And then when you replace the roof, you can expect a little increase?
No.
Okay.
Now, but that's a good question, and I'm glad you brought that back up. Over my 29 years there, last several years, we've got more and more calls from concerned customers about insurance rates. And what's happening is you got a lot of insurance companies, naturally they're going to sit there and use our website and look at what we have and base it on what information they're pulling from our website. Instead of getting from their chair, going out and taking a look at it, they're looking at our website. A lot of insurance companies will make you do a wind mitigation or whatever to
Which made the insurance rate go down on my rental property. I did a wind mitigation and saved $600.
Right, and sometimes it's more than that. And looking at a home, that's something you want to consider because the insurance company may not cover that property, or it may be sky high because it has an older roof. It may not be done to today's codes. It may not, whatever the case may be. And the building codes come from the building department, so I don't want you to think that's from me.
Right.
But the building codes come from the building department. But there's been a group of people, and I had them come to my home, that said, hey, we want to jump up on your roof. There was a hailstorm not long ago. We want to see if you have damage. And they're the ones that go and they bring it to the insurance company, and the insurance company ends up paying. So
And
people,
where do these people come from? The county people?
no,
Or your office?
they're contractors.
Oh.
They're roofing contractors, and I told them get off my property because what happens there when somebody ends up getting basically a reduced or free roof, it jacks all of us up.
Sure.
And people went, I got a free roof, but it hurts everybody, and I wouldn't be part of hurting everybody.
Because you're a good guy. Well, we're almost at 30 minutes, and I don't know what happens on YouTube after you go over 30 minutes because it takes like 912 hours to then upload. So unless you can think of anything pertinent, but you've been very enlightening. I hope this helped everybody, and maybe it'll help, some of the calls to, not that you mind. I know your office is prepared for the calls, but I know a lot of people were upset, and you've kind of explained it very well.
Just in a nutshell, our office hands are tied as far as saying what the values are going to be. It's based on the market, and you as a real estate agent, whatever you list them for impacts what we do.
Sure.
Whatever.
Even the listing price impacts, not the sales price?
The sale price, because
Okay.
if you're listing it, they're going to get somewhere near that these days anyway.
Yeah, or over.
And then what they can mortgage for. That's going to make a difference too. The other thing is, and I want to say this, we're fortunate in Marion County that the constitutional officers and the elected officials pretty much get along. It's not the case in other counties.
Yeah.
It's not the case, but they do. And I will tell you, the county commissioners have done their part to try to keep the values lower. I mean, they could have went up with values being up, but they didn't. They went down. And if you look across the board, the county commissioners did not raise millages. So
Okay,
the pointing
so
of that
I
finger.
owe an apology to Kathy Bryant.
Here, now, everybody, I will
Everybody
slap her
heard
hand.
that. See, I'm a big enough person to do that.
But
Anyway,
they did. They lowered.
so I basically brought you on my show to humiliate me. That's how
I would
smart
never-
I am.
No, and if you want to talk about
listen.
bowling a couple months ago, I did humiliate you. So.
Well, I was going to bring that up that property appraiser Jimmy Cowan thinks he's the best bowler in the county because he's got a ring. I got a pin, but I got a new ball coming in tomorrow. They're drilling the holes today, but he did humiliate me. I did have to kiss the ring. But
it was all in fun for fundraiser.
It was for a good fundraiser and a good cause, and we want to do that again. So if there are any league bowlers out there like we are, because we are fans of the league bowler, or even just any bowler, we would love to have you, and maybe we'll do that.
There's a couple coming up.
There is
After Humanity, and there's another one that TJ Reedy.
Go ahead and give them the dates and the information and promote them. The Habitat for Humanity one is on the same night as King of the Wing. Are you doing both, or you're just doing King? Because he's a judge of King of the Wing. I asked him to be a judge along with several others.
If it works out, I would do both.
I would love to. I know. I would. We were going to bowl in that one, and
there's another one for culinary arts for Marion County for kids that is coming up. I believe September 26th. I believe it is.
Let me know, and I'll bowl
I'll
on that
put it
one.
out
I'm
on
gonna have to
Facebook.
bring out the new ball because it's a beast, literally. And the beast is the brand of the ball. And I say that. Well, Jim, I love you. You're my good friend, and you're always there. He's probably one of the most hands-on property appraisers that we've had, and you always go above and beyond. And if you call him, usually it's not long before he gets back to you, and it's usually him. Or if you're out of town, you'll have one of your people. But thank you for what you do. You've been great. How long have you been in office now? A year?
Not yet.
Not quite
January
a year?
5th was this, and I want to say on record, it's been an awesome transition from the people. We got great people in our office. We really do.
You do.
And
Billy Smith was a great
He
property
was.
appraiser.
He
I
was.
loved Billy Smith, and we're
Rudy
lucky.
Muckenfuss, I had both of them.
Did you,
I
Rudy?
worked for both
Yeah,
of them, yes.
we're lucky. We've got some great constitutional officers in Marion County. We are blessed because a lot of counties are not as fortunate as we are. So, but I appreciate it. But I appreciate you coming out and straightening this out. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to call Jimmy's office. And Jimmy Cowan, thank you for being on my little silly whatever I got going on here. So thanks to everybody who watched.